basically, we're going to talk about love for everybody today. So my background, just so you know why I'm interested in this, and hello, Benedict. I haven't seen you in a while, but it's good to see your face. And a 9-year-old girl. Okay, awesome. Both of my parents are psychologists, and I turned out not crazy, most people would say. And I loved being raised by psychologists. My mom is a child development psychologist, and my dad is a forgiveness specialist who studied things like mercy and humility. And so when Dr. Gary Chapman, who is the creator of the 5 Languages of Love, put out the book and the original concept when I was, I think, 7 or 8, of course, my parents gathered us all around the dinner table and had myself and my 3 siblings and them all test our 5 languages of love. And so from the very beginning of Dr. Gary Chapman's research, this has been something that's been part of my family dialogue and that we refer to pretty regularly in our family. Kind of like if you have anybody that's into the Enneagram, how that seeps into their language and they refer to everything through the lens of the Enneagram. This is how my family is with the 5 languages of love. So before I even talk about the 5 languages of love and what they are, and before we start talking about that, I want to take you guys through a quiz. If everybody can have something to write on and something to write with, we're going to ask 20 questions. I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to pull up a slide deck, and these are the questions that you would take on the 5 Languages of Love website. So go ahead and get your paper and number it from 1 to 20. And so when you go to the 5 Languages of Love website, which we will go to after we do this, it gives you an option to take a quiz and find out what your love language is. Within taking that quiz, you have an option, and I'm so glad that so many people are interested in learning about a bunch of different age ranges today. Hello, Dilek, welcome. I see you. Under the quiz options, you can check whether you're taking a quiz for yourself. And then under yourself, it lets you take a quiz if you are interested in learning your love language as a couple or your love language as a single. And they're slightly different quizzes that serve slightly different functions. If you want to take a quiz for your child, oh, and Elisa's dropping it in the chat, so thank you. If you want to take a quiz for your child, it breaks it into 2 categories. It breaks it into 8 and under and 9 to 12. And then there's a separate quiz for teenagers. It's all very navigatable. It's all very easy to find. And instead of clicking on those links right now, I would ask that you maybe wait and save the link and look at it on your own time, because we're going to take the children's 9 to 12-year-old quiz together, which actually tests if you're as much of a child as I am, then that's still a very accurate assessment of what your love language is. So I want you to, unless I can't see if anyone has a child with them in this program, great, wonderful, I can't see that. So I'm going to assume, unless told otherwise, that I'm talking to a room full of adults. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and it is the love languages quiz. So give me just one moment, please. All right, so we're going to start off. For those of you that I can see, can I get a thumbs up if everything's looking okay? All right, thumbs up, excellent. So we're going to start off with our love languages mystery game. And if everybody is set with their paper ranked from 1 to 20, you would be asking your child which statement they would prefer to hear of these 2 statements. So for each of the 20 questions, there are 2 statements, and you're going to either pick the first one or the second one. So we're going to start off with this one. Would you rather hear, and again, you can answer as yourself, not as your child, or you can do it as your child, but would you rather hear, give me a hug, or you are terrific? If you would rather hear, give me a hug, then write the letter A by the first one, and then if you'd rather hear you are terrific, write the number B. Okay, we're going to move to number 2. Would you rather hear, I've got a special birthday present for you, or I'll help you with your project? So if you'd rather hear, I've got a special birthday present for you as number 2, write C. If you'd rather hear, I'll help you with your project, then write D. Question number 3. Would you rather hear, let's go to a movie, or give me a high five? Let's go to a movie. I want you to write down E. If you'd rather hear, give me a high five, write down A. So that's by number 3. Number 4, would you rather hear you are so smart or have you made your Christmas list yet? So if you'd rather hear you're so smart, then write down B. And if you'd rather hear have you made your Christmas list yet, write down C. That's number 4. If I start going too fast, let me know. For number 5, would you rather hear, would you help me cook dinner? Or I like going to fun places with you. So for number 5, if you'd rather hear, would you help me cook dinner? That's D. If you'd rather hear, I like going to fun places with you, that's E. Okay, we're a quarter of the way done. So this is a quick quiz, as you can see. For number 6, would you rather hear, give me a kiss or you are number 1? If you'd rather hear, give me a kiss, write down number A. There we go. Write down A. If you'd rather hear, you are number 1, write down B. That's number 6. Number 7, would you rather hear, I've got a surprise for you, or we can make something really cool? If you'd rather hear, I've got a surprise for you, that's C. And if you'd rather hear, we can make something really cool, that's D. All right, we're on to number 8. Would you rather hear, let's watch TV together, or tag, you're it? And this is one where I don't know that any of us as adults would genuinely want to play tag, but at least not with my niece, but you get the point. So if you'd rather, for number 8, do here, let's watch TV together, that's E, and tag, you're it, that's A. Moving on to number 9. If you would rather hear, you did a great job, that's B. And if you'd rather hear, you've earned a special surprise, that is C. We're on to number 10. For number 10, would you rather hear, you can invite your friends, or let's go to your favorite restaurant? If you'd rather hear, you can invite your friends, that's D. And if you'd rather hear, let's go to your favorite restaurant, that's E. All right, so we are halfway done with our quiz. Just checking in real quick. We doing okay? Everybody doing okay? Good? Okay, great. So moving on to number 11. Number 11, would you rather hear, I'm going to give you a big hug, or you are an awesome kid? And if you'd rather hear, I'm going to give you a big hug, that's A. If you'd rather hear, you're an awesome kid, that's B. And you might be starting to notice that some of these kind of sound similar to ones that you've heard before, and that is intentional, but they are slight variations and they're put in different combinations for you. So we're on to number 12. Would you rather hear, I made your favorite food, or I checked your homework and it looks great? If you'd rather hear, I made your favorite food, that's C. And if you'd rather hear, I checked your homework and it looks great, that is D. So we're on to number 13. For number 13, would you rather hear, you are fun to hang out with, or I'll race you? If you'd rather hear, you're fun to hang out with, that's E, and I'll race you is A. Another child-specific example. But number 14, would you rather hear, wow, you did it, or check under your bed for a special present? If you'd rather hear, wow, you did it, that's B. If you'd rather hear, check under your bed for a special present, that's C. On to number 15. Would you rather hear, I cleaned up your room for you, or let's play a game together? If you'd rather hear, I cleaned up your room for you, that's D. And let's play a game together would be E. So we are 3/4 of the way done with this quiz now. You're on to number 16. Would you rather hear, would you like me to scratch your back? Or you can do it, don't give up? If you'd rather hear, would you like me to scratch your back? That's A. Or you can do it, don't give up. That's B. For number 17, would you rather hear, what would you like for your birthday? Or we can pick up your friend on the way to the movie. If you'd rather hear, what would you like for your birthday? That's C. And if you'd rather hear, we can pick up your friend on the way to the movie, that's D. On to number 18. Would you rather hear, I always like doing stuff with you, or you are so huggable? If you'd rather hear, I always like doing stuff with you, that's E. And if you rather hear, you are so huggable, that's A. For number 19, almost done. Would you rather hear, how did you know how to do that? You are brilliant. Or would you rather hear, I can't wait to give you your present? If you'd rather hear, how did you know how to do that? You're brilliant. That's B. And oh, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that statement. And if you would rather hear, I can't wait to give you your present, that's C. And then the final question of the quiz is, would you rather hear, don't worry, I'll pick you up on time? Or let's spend the day doing whatever you want to do. And if you would rather hear, don't worry, I'll pick you up on time, that's D. And if you'd rather hear, let's spend the day doing whatever you want to do, that is E. So I'm just going to stop my share real quick so that I can check in and make sure, does anybody need me to go back and repeat anything? I feel like we're moving at an okay pace, but oh yeah, Abigail, what do you need me to repeat?
Number 9.
Number 9, sure. Number 9 was, would you rather hear, you did a great job, which is B, or you've earned a special surprise?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else need me to repeat anything? And for those of you that are, for everybody who just did that, what I want you to do next is I want you to tally up how many A's, how many B's, how many C's, how many D's, and how many E's. So I'm going to give you a second to do that. And once you have tallied up, each one of those obviously represents a love language. So I'm going to go back to the slideshow and talk about, if you had the most A's, that means this. If you had the most B's, that means this. So we're going to give you a couple seconds to tally up your score. And I'm also very interested in whether anyone is going to be surprised by the score. While you're tallying, I will say I went and took the online quiz for adults for single adults this morning, just to verify that I tested the same when I test as a child and when I test as an adult, and the results came out pretty interchangeable. So I encourage you to take the adult test where you don't pick options like tag you're it or I'll race you, but hopefully this will give you guys some accurate results anyway. Okay, so can I get maybe a thumbs up or two? Are we ready? Are we tallied? You want me to go in? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs. All right, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And then we are going to learn about our results. So that was the 20 quizzes. It's not. All right, so this is what you did right now, which is solving the mystery of how many A's, B's, C's, D's, and E's. And here's what they are. If you got mostly A's, then your love language would be physical touch and closeness. And we'll dive a little deeper into these in a bit. So physical touch and closeness would be A's. To this person, nothing speaks more deeply than appropriate touch. So if you found yourself responding either in real life or in the quiz to snuggles and cuddles and kisses and hugs, then this might be your love language. If you got mostly B's, then that would be words of affirmation or words of encouragement. And so this love language relies very heavily on using verbal acknowledgement, saying I love you, praising you, giving you words of encouragement and affirmation. If you had mostly C's, then that's gift giving or gift receiving. For some people, what makes them feel most loved is to receive a gift. Those were, I think, pretty clear as you were going through the questions. If you really like getting things for your birthday or Christmas, or if you really like getting gifts just because, if that is what makes you feel special, then that might be your love language, gift giving or gift receiving. If you did mostly D's, that was acts of service. And this is for action speaking louder than words. This would be like for me as a kid, if my younger sister would make my bed for me or something like that. It would be a mom doing the dishes for the kids and cleaning because they love their family and their children. So acts of service. And then if you got mostly E's, your quality time. And this love language is about giving the other person complete full attention, putting your phone down and giving eye contact and spending time with someone. I am a straight up like 90% quality time human. Well, 90% is an exaggeration. This was my percentage when I took the kid test that we all took together. So I was 40% quality time, 30% words of affirmation. I love getting praised and being told that I'm awesome. Acts of service ranked high-ish. I do appreciate having acts of service done for me. Physical touch, yes, and 0% on gift giving. That's not my love language. But I'm going to stop my share. And what I would love to do is, no one is required or expected to share at all, but I would be very interested, and you can drop it in the chat or unmute yourself or raise your hand. I would love to know if anybody got the love language that they like, if anybody is not surprised by their love language, or if anybody got a love language that you feel like is not accurate for you at all. That is valuable information too, but I'm very curious among those love languages if we have anyone who's willing to share.
I can share.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, mine the same. I've done this before, and mine was exactly the same. Words of affirmation, number 1, quality time, number 2, Becca. That's why we're such good friends.
I know. And we're such good friends because you're absolutely amazing. That's where I give you words of affirmation now that I know that that's your love language, right? All right. So I'm seeing some stuff come in the chat. This is fabulous. Thank you for sharing, Emily. So I'm seeing Parker's not surprised. Caitlin's not surprised. Kara's not surprised. Fellow quality time. All right. You're my girl. Amber, 100% E, not surprised. All right. We're like a bunch of quality time people in this. Oh, Elise, I was for sure quality time is the highest, was not surprised, but I was surprised no gifts, and physical touch was number 2 for me. I think the pandemic changed me with physical touch. That is a legit response. I actually, I have wondered, as I'm sure a lot of us have during the last 2 years, how our response to physical touch and closeness might be very different, how our need for it might be very different, how our willingness or not to receive it might be very different. I've thought a lot about people who rely on quality time like myself in isolation, and wondering what that would feel like and how it would be different for people who don't have that primary love language. Leslie said, not surprised, but I feel like I express love and receive love in different ways. I love to give gifts, but gift receiving is 0. Leslie, you are not wrong. You are completely accurate. I am so glad you brought that up. That's a very valid point. My younger sister, for example, she is the only person in our birth family who responds to gift giving at all. The rest of us all rank like 0%, don't give me gifts, but she lives to give gifts, and she's very skilled at it. She's very good at it. And it took this quiz and a conversation around our table to make it understood to our family that we're blessing my sister by receiving her gifts, because that is her love language, which ordinarily we would not have been very generous in responding to gifts. We'd have all the conversations about like, but you shouldn't spend that money on me, or I'd prefer this, or I prefer quality time, and that's not a blessing to her. That's not openly receiving her love language. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's often true that your love language is not the same to give and receive. Dilek, right on. Oh, Carol Ann, my results were very mixed. No clear winner. That must be because you are the most loving person on this entire Zoom call. I would bet. No, I that's interesting. Carol Ann, if you are willing to follow up, I'm curious if you feel like that you could identify without the quiz if there is a predominant love language that you would respond to or clearly thought that you would get. That's really interesting. I'm so glad. Thank you all for sharing. This is wonderful. Okay, so we are at 12:21. What I am gonna let you guys know, since we had so many people chime into the chat at the beginning that they're interested in taking this quiz with teens or even with adults, then I would encourage you to go to the website, which at least dropped into the chat, and there is the quiz page, and to let your teen take the quiz without you present at all. If they're willing to share results, great. And I also will say that the reason that the 5 languages of love breaks it down for younger children into 8 and under and 9 to 12 and then teens is if you click on the 8 and under quiz, what it's going to say is they're too young to take this quiz, but you can verbally trick them into giving you their love language. And so what that would look like, and I'm going to model that a little bit for you. And also, before I do that, I will say to the person who said at the beginning they were interested in specifically learning love languages for the elderly, there is, I'm going to share my screen again, on the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library website. I went to our website and searched in our catalog to see which of the 1,000,005 languages of love books and audiobooks and ebooks we have available. And this is a list of some of them. So we have 5 languages of love for children, specifically 5 languages of love for teenagers, the heart of the 5 languages. We had that's love languages specific to romance and love that lasts. We have one for love languages for men. So that's specifically geared toward love languages and how men exhibit them and receive them. The 5 love languages military edition, sharing love abundantly in special needs families. So that's 5 languages of love for parents raising children with disabilities. There is the 5 languages of love after you've lost a baby for grieving parents. There's one for blended families, becoming step family smart, and keeping love alive as memories fade, the 5 love languages and the Alzheimer's journey. And then there are 5 love languages for singles and blah, 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 blah. So I did want to specifically bring that to your attention, because maybe checking out that book on the 5 languages of love for the elderly is something that would specifically speak to your need in a way that I'm not going to address today. So Elise is dropping stuff into the chat again. Oh, Kara, I'm like your sister, 6. Yeah. Love to give gifts, but prefer to spend time. Yes, ma'am. All right, I love all of this. Okay, so what I am going to do right now is to use a book that I have used at a 5 languages of love for children Story Explorers program at the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. So Story Explorers are for ages 5 to 11. And so I have done this program multiple times for ages 5 to 11. And I always start unprompted and unguided without giving them any information first, just asking the room full of kids, how do you know that you're loved? And one of the things that's really humbling about that is that you would have to ask a room full of adults, do you know that you're loved? And you would get a mixed bag, but you can just ask a room of children, how do you know you're loved? And they all know they're loved by someone. And some of the responses are because mommy cuddles me, because daddy kisses me. Some of them will flatten you. Like I remember the first time I tried doing this program, one of the kids said, because my mom, this one's going to get me. She said, because my mom always makes sure that I have dinner even when she goes to bed hungry. And so sometimes kids will just break your heart, but like you can identify right away. Oh, I know you came to lunch to watch me cry. Ooh, sorry about that, y'all. But like, they will let you know by what they respond to. Often that is their primary love language, because the first thing that comes to mind when you say love is a parent reading to me on the couch. Okay, that's quality time. Or maybe it's the cuddle of the read, and maybe it's the physical touch and closeness. If your first response is that mommy always gets me fed, then probably acts of service is their primary love language. So if you ask a kid open-ended and unforced, like to tell you how they know they're loved, often they'll give it away what their primary love language is early on. But another thing that I did was I used this book, and some of you might know this book. I actually have also, for older kids, I've done this program with this book, but this is too long to share with y'all today. This is called Mufara's Beautiful Daughters, and this is by John Steptoe. It's an African Cinderella tale, and it's absolutely beautiful. It takes about 15 minutes to read, which is why I'm not going to do it with you today, but this is a wonderful book to do with like older elementary kids, because it exemplifies all 5 love languages in a very clear way, but it's a gorgeous story that has won many, many awards. So I highly recommend Mufara's Beautiful Daughters if you want a book to share with older elementary that you can talk about the 5 love languages with. But if you want this one, Love by Matt de la Pena, pictures by Lauren Long, this one is geared toward pre-K through 2nd grade. There's a little bit of flexibility with the age range of that. But when I used this at a 5 languages of love program, what I did was, again, having not talked about the 5 love languages yet, we talked on each page, where do you see love? And so here, and we're not going to do this whole book together, I'm just going to do a little bit of it with you. So it starts off here. In the beginning, there is light and 2 wide-eyed figures standing near the foot of your bed, and the sound of their voices is love. And so we have that picture from the crib upward. And so let's say starting here, and I am openly asking you if you feel like dropping in chat or unmuting and responding, then I welcome participation, but don't feel obligated. This page says, a cab driver plays love softly on his radio while you bounce in the back with the bumps of the city, and everything smells new, and it smells like love. So on this page, there are, for example, if I zoom in here, I would ask the kids, where do you see love? Where do you see love? And a lot of times they'll go immediately to the little boy giving a hot dog to the man on the bench. And so that would, if we know the love languages, then that would be an act of service or gift giving, but we wouldn't talk about that yet. And then on this page, this is another great page to use for this. This says, love too is the smell of crashing waves and a train whistling blindly in the distance. And each night, the sky above your trailer turns the color of love. And now I would ask children, where do you see love on this page? And almost always they immediately say, look at the daddy dancing with the daughter. And that is true. Yes, absolutely. Of course, that's quality time. Sure. But then also like to bring some attention to the mom who's just quietly washing dishes down below, because that's a nice act of service right there. And so you can do another one of my favorite pages to do. Oh, this is good. So this page in the book is a really interesting page because the author and illustrator were told by the publisher not to put it in because it says, but it's not only stars that flame out, you discover it's summers too, and friendships and people. And they were asked not to put this spread in the book because it's a mom crying and a dad fighting and there's alcohol and the kid is under the piano huddling, but it's actually one of the most powerful spreads of the book and they fought to keep it in. And if you ask the kids on this page, where do you see love? They take a second and then they see the love right there. And the dog is huddling with the little boy, right? And it's giving him love and snuggles and keeping him safe. And then another good spread, I'm not going to do this whole book, but would be this one right here. This is the last page that we're going to look at. And in time, you learn to recognize a love overlooked, a love that wakes at dawn and rides to work on the bus, and a slice of burnt toast that tastes like love. And so if I ask the kids, where do you see love in this picture? They'll go to the older brother who has made burnt toast and orange juice and has given them to the brother. But then you can also bring their attention through the window to the dad that is walking through the snow with his lunch pail, getting ready to go to work, and how that's a nice act of service. So you can use, and I can provide you with a list of, there's a Bibliocommons list which links to our library website that is specifically mostly for 0 to 5 of books that you can use with younger children to talk about love languages. But I'm gonna hold up a couple that might be helpful. And again, I know we have so many parents on this call who are interested in learning about love with teens, and this might be less than helpful to you, so I apologize, but please drop questions in the chat if there are things you want me specifically to address. Hair Love won a bunch of awards. This is by Matthew Cherry and illustrated by Vashti Harrison. This is a great book to use that has examples of a dad and a daughter, and it's words of encouragement and quality time and physical touch and closeness. It's got a lot of really great examples in it. And I'm going to actually quiz you with just a handful of books, and you can drop in the chat or unmute. But I'm going to hold up a book and give you, you might even get it just from the title, but books for younger kids that focus on one specific love language. So if you're able to identify what your kid's love language is and you want a book that features that in particular. So this book, Hug Machine by Scott Campbell. This is about a little boy who runs around hugging mailboxes and trees and hug, 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 hug. And he is fueled by pizza. It's fabulous. Does anybody think they know what love language this might be addressing? Yes, I'm seeing some nods. So obviously physical touch and closeness we've got with Hug Machine. This book, Thread of Love, and this is by Campbell and Suresh Segal. And this is about a celebration called Raksha Bandhan, which takes place in August. It's an Indian celebration where brothers and sisters make things for each other. And so this book is a sung book to the tune of Frere Jacques, but it is about two sisters making their brother a raki, which is a bracelet, a handmade bracelet. And then the brother wishes them Meriban and gives them little sweets that he's made for them. And I use this book often at like multicultural story times, but it is, what do you think love language would be? And actually this might be two. Anybody have any guesses? Gift giving. I'm seeing some gift giving. I think, yeah, but also maybe acts of service, because the whole book is about the process of making the gift. So that's both gift giving and acts of service. So that would be a good one. We have How Kind. This is one I've used as young as baby story time. This is by Mary Murphy, and this is about a little hen who gives a pig her egg to keep it safe, and then they all want to do something kind for another animal, and so one of them goes to the cow to get milk for the cat, which is how kind, and then the cat is like, that was so kind, I'm gonna go scratch the dog's back with a stick, and the dog says, how kind, I'm gonna go do this thing. And so this would be, do you have any guesses what? Excellent. Okay, I just saw a message come in the chat. So yeah, so this would be acts of service, probably, right? We'll just do a couple more. Ooh, how about this one? This is Rabbit's Gift. This is a Chinese fable, and it's about a rabbit who finds 2 turnips out in the snow and only needs one of them. And so the rabbit decides to go leave the turnip outside Donkey's door. And Donkey wakes up the next day and the footsteps have been covered by the snow. And Donkey realizes that he doesn't need another turnip. So he goes and takes the turnip to Deer's house. And then Deer finds it outside the door and realizes, oh, that's so sweet, and doesn't need it. So gives it to somebody else's house. What language do you think this might be? Rabbit's Gift, based on that pitch, based on the title, gift giving, right? And maybe the actions, but I think also acts of service. And then at the end, they all share it together in this nice little spread that has them all around the table. Oh, spoiler alert, they split the turnip. But yeah, and so that would be, quality time when they all eat together and share a meal. So I don't want to belabor the point. I think you guys probably all could go through books now and talk about the 5 languages of love and find examples, but I am very, very interested. And I did have someone ask in the chat, the book that I read before Hair Love, it's called Love by Matt de la Peña, and the pictures are by Lauren Long. Thank you for asking that question. As I have older teens, I'm reading this question in the chat from Amber. As I have older teens, this is still a great place to start my journey to better know their languages. Thanks for the book list. Looking forward to taking the quiz with them today. Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad. All right, it's 12:35, so I know I've gotten my half hour with you guys, but I am here for you if you have any. Oh, I promised a couple craft ideas. So last thing before we open it up to chat and discussion. In addition to going to the website, some craft ideas that you could use would be, that I have done with this program. There is a tape relief. This is a cheap but like super fun craft you can do. You can take Scotch tape, the clear tape, and write out the word love on a piece of white paper with just the tape, and then use watercolor and it will reveal it. So that's a tape relief exercise that you could do, an activity. You could also, if you have a white crayon, you could do, this is me just starting. I wrote the start of L and the start of O and then started painting over it, but you could do a white crayon on white paper and then paint over it with the words love or things that remind them of love. That's what it would look like, the crayon relief project. I've done fingerprint art for this. So you find some sort of, oh, yes, Kara, I will. Thank you for dropping that in the chat. So some sort of sheet like this says love makes a family. And I had like thumbprint pads, like ink pads that you can do fingerprint art with, and had them pick a different color for every family member and then like thumbprint in the word love. If you have kids that are a little bit older that have some dexterity, then you could do a Danish heart, which is a fun project. You can find templates that look like this, kind of like the Pac-Man creatures, if I can show my 1980s relevance, but those Pac-Man creatures, and if you cut them out and then weave them and color them and weave them together, you can make this cute little Danish heart. So I love that craft, and you don't need a template. You could just eyeball it if you wanted to. And then I have another list of crafts that are love-based that Elise can provide in the email that she'll send you afterwards. Okay, fabulous. I think I talked fast. Hopefully it all made sense. Worked out okay. Anybody have any questions?